Hello, my name is David Cade. I'm the CEO of the American Health Law Association. Each year, the board of directors approves a slate of esteemed individuals selected by the Fellows Coordinating Council as AHLA Fellows. These longtime members have shown a commitment to the association through their participation as speakers, authors, mentors, and leaders. They are regarded as one of the top health law professionals in the legal community, and all have been actively participating in AHLA and the health law profession for 15 or more years. While the bios of these new fellows are posted on the AHLA website, it is just a snapshot of their many accomplishments. I want to give you the chance to hear from them personally and learn more about why they deserve the AHLA honor. The 2022 Fellows class includes 7 exceptional individuals. Today, I have the distinct honor to be speaking with Jim Boswell. Hi, Jim. How are you doing?
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Want to take a minute or two, ask you a couple of questions about being selected as a fellow and your journey. So let me start with this one. How does it feel to be an AHLA fellow?
It's a tremendous honor. AHLA service is something you do over a career, and having had several jobs, this one is perhaps one, if not the most satisfying, because it's a way to continue service into what I'll call the senior years of my practice, and to continue to have that connection with the association, which I have valued for so many years.
I like that, and I like your phrase of the senior years. So before we get into your senior years, I want to take you back a little bit. Why did you go to law school? And why did you select health law as a career area?
Well, I like to say I went to law school probably growing out of my past history as a high school debater, which is what I like to say what the cool kids did. But I found that law school seemed to be so much like the way my brain worked as a debater, and I really enjoyed using that part of my brain. For me, the health law decision wasn't made until later. I had the opportunity after I was in practice as a litigator to work for health law clients during the first, I would say 5, 6, 7, 8 years of my practice. And I realized that those are the clients I like to work for. And the people who tend to gravitate toward that field were the kind of people that I liked to work with in terms of, and as an outside lawyer, working with inside counsel, the business people within particularly the healthcare provider community were sort of my kind of people. And so I realized that was a specialty of law that would fit me well. And I actually chose that after deciding to be a litigator initially. And so I became a healthcare litigator and have specialized in healthcare litigation for the past 20, 25 years.
It's a great journey, Jim. It's a great journey. How has AHLA helped you remain connected with your health law colleagues?
Well, that's a great question. And I would say the way I have become connected was through service, and then also through the in-person aspect of the organization, which David, you and I have talked about before. But being actually in meetings, typically the annual meeting or other meetings throughout the year, I felt like I really got to know people from other firms and other parts of the country. And where I found particularly valuable networking with folks I met in AHLA was the ability to just call them, out of the blue throughout the year, talk about an issue that had cropped up or something in our respective areas of practice, and to maintain connection with people who were in my area but maybe in a completely different part of the country. And so having kind of made those personal connections through in-person, the lunches and the practice group events made me feel like I had a network around the country that I could turn to with questions that came up in my field.
So perhaps that's an easy setup for me to ask you this question. If a new AHLA member asked you how to get involved in the association, what would you tell them?
I would say to volunteer and show enthusiasm as a volunteer. And that's a way to get a deeper and richer experience and involvement and level of engagement in the association, because that's when you're actually working on a project in common with people from other firms and other parts of the country or government or other areas of practice that are different from what you do. And so being willing to actually do some work for the association to turn out educational content for me was the way that I felt like I got actually connected with other people. And that's what I would encourage people to do. I did it through the practice groups. You could do it through, other routes, through writing and publications, through conferences. But I found the practice groups a particularly accessible way to come into the association.
That's great, Jim. And so continuing that theme of let's take one more step backwards before we go forward. For the law students that might be listening to this tape, what do you wish you knew when you were a law student? Well,
for one thing, I wish I knew of my interest in health law, because I would have pursued coursework and would have gotten involved in the association earlier. So that's definitely one, one thing that I would have done differently if I had 20/20 hindsight. The other thing I will say, though, is just I think that being a generalist and having an understanding of a broad range of the law, shall we say, or regulatory, litigation, transactional topics, it is a really strong calling card for being a health lawyer, because health law problems don't neatly fit into one of those buckets. So thankfully, I did have a lot of exposure to transactions and litigation and regulatory issues. And once you get into the specialty, you realize that all three of those things confront you, and you can't count on a neat and compartmentalized type of practice because of the fact that health law serves an industry as opposed to serving a particular niche type of legal work.
That's great. Yes, a strong message for the law school and the young professional community for sure. Now, as you think back over your career, and I know your career is ongoing, you're not done, what to date has been the accomplishment that you are most proud of, and why?
Well, I thought that might be a question I would get, and I have to be honest with you, David. I think to really answer that question honestly, I would have to say, my proudest accomplishments are really in the personal realm as opposed to the professional realm. And I think probably to answer that question honestly, and I'm proud to say, but being a dad to 3 great sons is my proudest accomplishment. To answer that question honestly, and certainly I have loved my professional career and have been thrilled at the things I've been able to do with and for clients. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, our careers are in service of our lives. And I think that type of question probably, deserves an honest answer. And I'm really most proud of being a dad and of the kids, the great kids that I know now as adults.
So I suspect that means that you take time away from the desk.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you do for fun? How do you balance the work and the life that you have?
Well, you have to become good at that, don't you? I guess we all do. And for me, there are two parts of it. There's making sure, your life and the people that you are connected to get your time and attention. The other thing is making sure that you personally do what you need to do to be a successful and well-rounded human. And I find, of course, I've practiced in the era that didn't start out in electronic communication, right? It was the mail delivery, the FedEx delivery, and I've evolved to an area of practice where, everything is in bleeps of electronic communication. So I find for my personal, work-life balance, getting away from the electronic communication for an hour at a time, for me, that may often be through exercise, is quite important. And then I think in terms of achieving balance for family and friends, taking some time, preferably to travel somewhere far away, in many time zones away, has often been a successful strategy to sort of focus on your life and those you love for a few days rather than work, nonstop.
Getting away is a key. So let me say, with my final question here, that balance, that striving for service, what would be the trait that you feel is most important in being an effective health lawyer?
Great question. I think you have to have a curiosity. Can I have two?
You can have
curiosity and a thoroughness, frankly, because, health law is expressed in a lot of different forms. It's not only expressed in regulations and laws and cases and sub-regulatory guidance, but it's also expressed in how an industry actually works and what people actually do. And so you not only have to mind the law, but you have to figure out how things actually work in practice. And that's where the connections to colleagues in the association comes in handy, because I like to know, how is this done in that particular part of the country that I may be in this particular matter, or how is it done for clients other than my client? What have you seen the government raise as concerns in this area? So I think that thoroughness of checking, the law, but also checking the practice and the customs and the industry way of functioning is something definitely distinguishing about health law.
Curious mind and thoroughness. I think those are great messages for anyone new to the health law profession and for anybody on that journey in the nature of health law and how we provide counsel to our clients. So that's a great message. Jim, we'll end there, and I want to end with, again, a wonderful, hearty congratulations on being selected as an AHLA Fellow.
Thank you so much, David.
We are very proud of your accomplishments and glad that you've been in service for all these years. So thank you, Jim.
Pleasure speaking with you.